Perfect. Good. What time is it? It's 2. All right. Welcome everybody to our call. I hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend and we are ready to get back in the saddle. Have a huge call day today. Phones should be hot. Everybody's off work. That's why we're working. So let's get into a little bit of recognition. Last month, team issue paid $888,550. So let's go over the top 10 here. Steven, the Italian Stallion, Giordano, $125,691. Number 2, Orlando, No Pain, No Gain. Monster month here, buddy. Great job. $52,107. You're killing it. Chris Wasserman, $33,350. Jesse Parley, $32,903. Garrett D, the Raging Cajun, $32,555. Steph Cover, $28,966. Cedric the Kangaroo Hartman, $26,399. That's like one big week for you, buddy. Good job. Tierra Brown, $24,361. Mario Guajardo, $23,170. And Alex Lebrija with Third Coast, $23,009 IP. Manager recognition, Steve Giordano, Health and Wealth, number 1 agency within Apex, $464,559. I know he's gunning for a $700,000 plus month in July. Can't wait to see that come to fruition. Jesse with FFL Avenues, $139,728. Alex Lebrija with Third Coast, $93,009. Chris Wasserman, FFL Blue Line, $79,687. And Steph Cover with Insurance Trust, $73,540. All right, submitted business last week. We were close to our number 1 week ever, which is awesome. 348,278. Let's get that placement ratio up, guys. We'll start issuing over 1.5 million a month, which is great. Top 20 producers, Steve Giordano, 31,611. Tierra Brown, 20,029. Amanda Sanchez, it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Amanda. Keep doing what you're doing. You're banging the phones on your birthday. This will be a good payday for you. 17,457. The Raging Cajun, 16,851. Jesse Parley, 16,704. Alex Lebrija, 15,385. Caleb Sewell, 12,727. Orlando, No Pain, No Gain, 11,990. Jennifer Hayes with a big week. You're cracking 10,000 left and right here, Jen. Great job. 10,699. Julie Mung with a clean 10,000 even. David Henson, 97.93. Tyler Knox, 89.04. Mason Johnson, 88.16. Janine C, 84.85. Chanel F, 76.05. Angie Yates, 75.29. Tony Fantoli, part-time grind, 7,000. Great job, dude. Can't wait to see you on Wednesday night. Michael R, 61.99. Mario Garza, 61.20. And Ryan K, 58.29. 5 new writers last week, so congratulations to Rachel M, Turquoise A, Perla V, Denton Q, and Vernica M. So great job, guys. Let's keep up the good work. All right. And Steve, let's tag you in here, dude, to interview Joanne Basso. Super excited for this interview. I've heard really good things about this agency and this agent. So without further ado, Steve, why don't you come on in?
Thanks, Rob. Happy 4th to everyone. I am very, very excited and fired up to have Joanne with us today. So Joanne, welcome to the call. How are you today?
Thank you. Very good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I am terrific. Thanks. And I got to say, I listened to call you did with Mark, which I thought was amazing. And the one thing that I took out of it was your positive outlook and kind of your infectious personality. And there's no wonder that you issued, it was 40,000 in your first 21 days, right?
Yeah.
That's incredible. So congrats to you. So we're going to jump into it. Now you're in Jersey, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. But grew up in Philly.
You got it.
Okay, cool. So now your brother gets into the industry. I want to say he got started right around convention or a little bit before convention, or about January, right? Okay.
You got it. Yep.
So he gets going, he starts building, and he's building rapidly. And he shares this to you. Like, how does he communicate what he's doing to you?
So essentially, he obviously, just like a family dinner, is letting me know, hey, I know I've been doing sales for a long time. He's like, listen, this is an unbelievable opportunity. You're going to kill it. You have the skill set to do really well doing insurance. I know you've never done any kind of life insurance before, but you should quit your job and you should come do this full time. And of course, I was very skeptical just for the fact, not that I didn't believe my brother, it's just when he was telling me the numbers that people were putting up, I just thought there was just no way. He actually told me about you. He's like, I'm telling you, there's this guy named Steve. And he's like, he is just a killer. He does like $1 million a year. And I'm like, what sales position can you do over $1 million a year? But essentially, he went out with my dad as well. They went to the convention, and my dad started after convention doing this part-time, and he was putting up over $10,000 a week part-time. And then as soon as they came back and I saw my dad with the results he was having, that was it. So I was all in. I quit my job that I was with, corporate America for over 6 years. And since May, I've been doing this full time.
And correct me if I'm wrong, your dad is a pastor as well?
Yes, correct. So my dad's a full-time pastor. So he truly has other obligations. He does this part-time. He's just very good. Obviously, he's very good at communicating with people, and he's very ethical, and that comes off very well with his clients. And it just shows the system that's in place with FFL that you could do this part-time in, middle age and make over $10,000 a week. So it's amazing.
So basically they challenged you and they said, look, if I can do this part-time, your dad, you can do it.
Exactly. That really was what it was. And then, really, I mean, just the results were there. And then of course, Joe also, I don't know if you know Gabe Erickson, but then I, got to shadow a little bit with Gabe, and then Gabe was showing me just the ropes and his deposits. And I saw that it was real. And then that's all it really took. I went on, I watched a few podcasts. When I saw that it was just new agent after new agent, just having the same success, following the very simple process that was in place here. And everyone was kind of, if you were a top producer, you were just, following the same ingredients and you were getting very similar to the same results. It was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. And another theme of this call is going to be, in hearing you in a couple calls I listened to, how you just tackle things. Like you don't have the paralysis by analysis that a lot of new agents I find have. You have the, like, I'm going to go do it. So you got licensed, I believe, in what, like 6 or 7 days?
Yes. So when I decided I was going to be all in, I knew I knew truly nothing about life insurance whatsoever. So I knew that if I was going to leave my very stable corporate career where it was just, if worst comes to worst, it was just stability. I knew I was going to get paid 40 hours a week. If I was going to leave that, then I needed to do everything in my power to be as successful as I could be and to set myself up to be successful. And then watching just a few podcasts, it was the same message over and over, buy leads, put the work in. And I just knew that if I was going to do this full time, this was going to be the new trajectory in which my life was going, that I needed to become a student of the industry, voraciously watch the podcast and learn as much as I could. So that way, when I actually was legally able to sell, I was going to hit the field on the ground running.
And you worked in human resources in corporate America, was it?
Correct. So I was originally retail, and then I got into management, and I was able to use their, tuition assistance program. So I got my master's degree in human resources, and that's what I was doing there. Correct.
Okay. So needless to say, you quit a job and you didn't really think twice about it. You just went all in and did it. Were you nervous?
Correct. For sure. Even though I knew I was I am a hard worker and I was going to put the work in, you're always going to have fear coming at you. Like, but what if I'm that one off? What if I'm the exception to the rule? What if I follow the system and for some reason I'm the anomaly that doesn't do well? So of course that fear was there, but I just am like, listen, if I'm going to put the hard work in, I'm going to do everything in my power, and I'm going to follow, what you and everyone else who's very successful, if I follow what they say to do, supposedly the success just follows. And so if you do the right things right. So I was nervous, but I knew that I needed to buy a lot of leads for my first dial day. I needed to fall on my face hard as quickly as possible. So that way I could actually start learning more and see the results.
I love the mentality. So now you like you said, you bought a lot of leads. So what do you think you spent on your first lead order?
Well, I spent actually a lot more than the average first agent just because I was trying to lock out some counties too. So my first, I probably before I even made a dial, I had spent a little over $2,000. I was ready to invest. I knew that I needed to have the numbers in my favor. So I had a mix of instant leads, the age final expense mailers, and then a couple of the mortgage mailers fresh in some local counties next to me. So it was an initial investment up front, but I really wasn't scared of spending that money because I knew if I dialed them right, these were interested clients that I would make that money back.
And how many different counties in Jersey are you typically running? Like 2 or 3?
Yeah, 2 or 3, predominantly the one. And then when, if I don't have as many leads there, I'll switch over to the other 2.
Okay. What are the counties you're running in?
Mainly Camden County. And then I also work a little bit north of me in Ocean County. And I currently live in Atlantic County. Just depends on the lead flow there. But normally minimal, I'm driving about 50 miles because I have found really good success going a little bit further from my home.
Okay. I love it. So again, not afraid, just kind of going and doing, and you'll figure it out and fail forward. So now you spend that money on leads. You got a lot of leads. You sit down to dial. What were some of the challenges you had in your first dial session, and what did you learn from
them? Well, even though I had watched a ton of podcasts where people were saying, especially when it comes to the internet leads or a little bit of the older leads, it takes time, and not everyone is going to be, an instant slam dunk. I think it was just for me having the mentality of do not be emotional. If someone is really rude to you, they don't know you. It's not personal. They don't mean it towards you. So for me, after my first dial day, I'm like, I actually had a pretty good first dial day. I was able to book 14 appointments on my first dial day. So that was, an answer to prayer. But then my second dial day actually wasn't as hot. But as I've gone through, I've just learned to try to keep as stable in my emotions as possible, and to just, especially with the internet leads, just to keep on pounding the phone, because those you have to work a little harder. But I have had really, really good return on investment. Most of my issue paid is from the instant leads. So they're not always fun call days, but if you are consistent and persistent on the phone, you stay level with your emotions and don't get upset if they hang up on you or don't remember filling it out. I always have my script in front of me, even though I haven't memorized at this point. I always have my objection handling, right there as well. But I don't like to become complacent on the phone. I like to be fresh and sharp, that I can make the most out of every time I get someone on the phone.
And I know it was a little while ago, but if you think about perspective for everybody, so you booked 14, 2,000 in leads. How many actual leads roundabout you think that you bought with that?
Oh, let me think. So I had, the age final expense mailers, I was actually able to buy like 150 of those. And then instant leads, I had 100 on my first dial day. Okay. But to be real with you, I didn't have to use all of my age final expense mailers. I did the instants first, and then I went to my mailers, and I had some of those left over for my next dial session. So I didn't even use all of those.
Okay. And if I had a guess, your stress level was probably less because any not interested in whatever, you were on to the next, and you knew you had 200 and whatever the number was sitting there waiting for you. It wasn't like you were squeezing 30. Would that be accurate?
Exactly. And that's 100%. That's what I knew. I'm like, listen, even though I may have a little bit of sales background, I have never done one of these calls. I know I might not know how to overcome objections. The last thing I need when I'm already nervous of jumping into a new industry is to not have the numbers in my favor. So for any new agent on here, 100% invest in yourself. If you have to go to a little bit of an age lead to have more volume for those first dial sessions, do that, because the last thing you want is to be super stressed out and nervous now that you don't have enough leads to dial. It's going to mess up your mentality, and you're not even going to be as sharp on the phones for the clients who actually really do want it.
Now, I know you did 20,000 your second week. What did you do your first week? Because you struggled a little bit the first week, right?
I really did. Yeah. I made so many rookie mistakes in my first week, even though I thought I was proactive and so I only did 2,800 my first week.
Okay.
And I had like 24 appointments. So it just not the best week. And it just shows you, when you don't follow the exact system in place, don't set up the right structure in the home, or maybe book less, a little more than 2 days out. I just fell into every possible rookie mistake my first week.
And the reason I bring that up is because, FFL, we promote off of, you wrote 40,000 in 21 days, and that's like incredible, right?
Yeah.
But I try to talk real on this call because we want new agents to understand what it takes to get there. So now you spent 2,000, you wrote 28, you made every mistake in the book, as we all do, that first week.
Yeah.
What kept you from not quitting week 2?
Oh, I was even more fired up. I'm like, I am not going out this way. Like, I am going to be successful this week. So, like I said, what you hear in all the podcasts, I called in the home and I was talking to my manager. I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong? And then it came down to, okay, you're not setting the right structure. You're getting into the financial inventory sheet a little too early. You're not setting expectations, or you do not book more than 2 days out. I mean, it was just light little switches. And then as soon as I kind of understood that, my second week, I was able to execute much, much more successfully.
And what's interesting about that is the new agent, or any agent, the successful one, the top producer, and the not top producer, in my opinion, if they're working hard and it's an apples to apples of hard work and work ethic, there's just little things that are tweaks that are just, it's really all it is. It's not like these crazy things that make the difference, but the little things can make the difference. So you'd obviously agree with that.
Correct.
So now you go week 2, sit down again. You have this monster week of 20,000. How many leads did you call? How many appointments did you book?
For my second week, I mean, all of my dial days, I'll be really honest and transparent to anyone new on the on these calls. All of my dial days have not been fun. I normally am dialing for 7 to 8 hours. I'm doing 400 to 600 dials normally, depending, because I don't have those fresh mortgage mailers all the time. So when I do, my dial days can definitely be condensed. But for that second week, it was all instance or age. So I was dialing, again, both of my dial days, probably 400 dials. And then I ran that second week was 25 appointments.
Okay. So now 25 cracks at it. And you wrote 20 off of mostly instant. Now with your dialing, do you use phone burner, or you're doing it the old fashioned way?
I go back and forth. Sometimes I have phone burner, and I 100% recommend it. Sometimes I like having that little bit more control. It just depends on what leads I'm calling, especially too.
Okay. Gotcha. Because, there's a psychology on the phone, kind of what you use, what you call from, and I'm with you. I think everything, is situational, like it's hard to say one thing works for everything, because it just isn't that way.
Yeah.
So now you get into the houses. You made some mistakes the first week. What are some of the things you did in the second week? Some of the mistakes you made week 1 that you learned from that brought you to the 20,000?
Really, and this is for me, would be the execution of the structure in the home. I think this is obviously normal for anyone. Your first week, you're really nervous. You don't know what to expect. So for me, I was just the first week so happy that someone was actually home, and remembered the appointment that I was kind of just introducing myself. Not that I didn't sound professional or anything like that, but I was jumping into the financial inventory sheet and not asking the right questions in the beginning to build the value of the why, and then almost jumping into the presentation of the numbers way before I built the structure of, this is how the appointment works. If we find something that's comfortable and affordable and you qualify for, we put in the request with the carrier. I wasn't building the structure that I do now in the home before I jumped into presentation and showing them numbers. So really, it was just slowing it down, understanding why I was there, building up the value of why I was there, what I was going to help them do, asking them the right questions, who their beneficiary was, what did it look like if something happened to them tomorrow and they didn't put this coverage in place. It really was just slowing it down and building the benefit and the value of what I had, why they needed it. and also letting them know that it's very normal. If we find something that makes sense, we're going to put in a request. That helped me to overcome the I need to think about it objection, which I got in my first week a lot too. So 100%, it was just the structure and the format of my in-home that exponentially helped me have a much better week.
You seem like one that has a pretty solid mindset. Are there things that you do that create like just keeping yourself positive, keeping yourself sharp, and, you know, being able to deal with the challenges that we deal with every day?
Yeah, well, definitely one, I pray to God every day. Honestly, it's his grace that gets me through all of the challenges. And before I get out of the car, I always pray that he'll help me do well in the home, pray for safety. And then of course, my family there, I always am talking to them, going back and forth whenever I have a tough call day or anything like that. They keep me grounded for sure. But, and then of course, that's just personal, but on the professional side, I'll call my brother, I'll call Gabe Erickson. They help me professionally to keep my eye on the prize. If I'm kind of get off a little bit, to keep my mentality straight, and just to keep pushing forward.
That's great. When you have an awesome circle and guys like those guys who I know who are top producers and they do it at a high level, when you surround yourself with that, like they're always going to lift you up. So anybody on the call, like find 2 or 3, not a million, that are writing more than you, that have a great mentality, and reach out to them when you're struggling, because everybody needs a lifeline now and again.
Exactly.
So now looking at your schedule and knowing you were in corporate America and everything's very, very structured as to what you're doing and when you're doing it. And you mentioned a lot about listening to training. So you have your dial time and then you have your training time. So how much time in a week would you say you're dedicating to listening to training?
Oh, wow. Actual like watching, well, of course I have our training calls, which I'm always on, for our agency. Watching training myself, probably 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. And then from there, listening to it in my car, the podcast and different things. I mean, that will fluctuate, but I mean, I'm easily doing 10 to 15 hours of training a week on top of my weekly calls and obviously what I need to do just to, perform.
Right. And obviously not doing it in money making times, in dial time.
Exactly. Of course. So that will be before I go to bed at night or when I wake up in the morning before my dial session calls, when I'm getting ready, when I'm driving to and from my appointments, if I'm not calling an agent, that kind of stuff.
When you were in corporate America, you worked like salary and worked over 40 hours, or what kind of schedule did you have?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. So it fluctuated. So I was, even though it was retail hours almost. So sometimes it would range 10, 12 hours a day, always working the weekends. It was still slightly commission based, even a little bit too. So it went back and forth, but I was easily working, 55 hours a week, 60 sometimes, and not being compensated anywhere fairly or close to what you can do here.
So isn't it cool when you come from that? Because I came from that, and you're like, all right, so if I used to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week and make X, and I was capped at, let's call it 100 grand, and I do that here and I can 10 times that, like how awesome is that?
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It truly is the most unbelievable opportunity.
Yeah, it's amazing. So now you also have mentioned, and obviously Joe and Caleb and all those guys are growing like weeds, which is awesome to see. Yeah. You're building, and your goal is to build a business.
Correct.
Okay. So how many people have you recruited so far off of your success?
So far, there's probably in the pipeline about 20 people that are going to be hitting pretty soon. So I have actually a few agents that had their first dial day today. A couple agents shadowed me last week, and then from there, some are still learning the material. So definitely hoping. It's time. It takes a little bit of patience, but within the next 2 months, they should all be hitting the field.
And
it's continually going.
Yeah. Did you at all say in the beginning, like, did you at first say, hey, I just want to sell and kind of figure it out? Or did you say, I'm going to build a business. Look what my brother's doing. He's building a business.
I was skeptical, even though I was a manager and different things, I was skeptical if I was going to be able to balance the two. Because at first, obviously, I knew that the best way for me to be able to build a business was to have the revenue from selling. So I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I focus on my own pen. But I always knew the end game. Listening to a few podcasts, I saw the benefits of building a team. Not only can you help affect so many different people and their families and them doing well, obviously it also helps you in your life. And if you focus on it for a short amount of time, you can have an amazing success. So for me, it's not that I didn't want to build the business. I was skeptical of whether I had it in me. And then once I started, after my first 2 or 3 weeks, I'm like, okay, I have kind of not the selling thing down, but I understand what it takes to do well here. Now I know how to allocate my time and resources that I can focus on building the business when I'm not doing that money-making activity.
Yeah. And it's interesting now because you're in the early stages and obviously it takes a lot of time to sell. So what are some of the things that you do and some of the advice that you'd give to new agents that don't have a staff yet and don't have recruiter and all that stuff? Some of the little things that you're able to do that you were able to get 20 people who are now ready to join.
Yeah. So definitely really taking advantage of all your times between appointments. Like that's going to be a really big thing. For me, I don't really have that much free time anymore, to be real. If I am not on the phone booking appointments, I'm probably talking to an agent or doing a Zoom call with an agent. If I'm not in an appointment, I'm driving in my car to an appointment, which then I'm either listening to a training if I don't have an agent to call. But essentially when most of those people are warm, recruits for me. I have some cold too, but I told all of my coworkers that were working at the other place with me, there's this really big opportunity. So if you're trying to build a business and you haven't reached out to the people that in your life that trust you, that was one thing. So, and then the other thing is obviously just taking advantage of the time between when you're actually selling appointments to make sure you balance that and are calling agents and keeping up with them and getting them into the groups and onto the training calls, because that makes all the difference, especially when they're new. They might not be as bought in. So you need to make sure you do give them that time and attention. Not let them fall into the cracks.
Yeah. One of the coolest things I think that helps a new agent when it comes to hiring early is if you have failure in sales and then you fill up your schedule with anything sales related, hiring related, talking to people, you create this mentality of the next thing is kind of the thing that's going to win. And I don't have time to focus on the loss, exactly. Like, so when you max out your schedule that way, you're going to win. You might not win today. You might not win this week, but you're going to win in the long run.
Exactly.
How many of those
it's comforting.
people? Yeah, exactly. How many of those people were flat, just warm market, maybe friends, family that you recruited?
It's going to be more in the future. I know I've yet to turn a couple people, but so far it's like six or seven, and then the rest are cold.
Okay. Gotcha. Cool. So this has been incredible. You are an inspiration to a lot of people because you really come on like wildfire. If there's anything, a piece of advice you could give to our new agents starting out, one thing that would help them to get moving, what would it be?
Be all in. Don't doubt yourself. Also, don't think you're going to be the exception to the rule. Most people naturally tend to be, I don't want to say lazy, but it's just that mentality of you don't always have the drive to do more. But this is the one business and the one opportunity that you can literally do one activity today and see the fruit of that tomorrow. So this is not the kind of business where you want to sleep on it or be like, I'm going to get to it tomorrow. Have faith in yourself, put in the hard work now. You're going to see the fruits of your labor really quickly, especially in this business. And it's an opportunity you're not going to get anywhere else. So for anyone who's new on this call, jump all in, do what it takes. If you don't know what it takes, I'm sure you guys are wonderful managers. Reach out to them. They're going to guide you on exactly what to do to be successful, but don't just wait for the opportunity to find you. If you're actually on this call, you already found the opportunity. Just figure out how to plug and play it to be successful.
Awesome. I love it. Are you going to be at the sales conference in Jersey in a couple of weeks?
I'm trying to. unfortunately, I already had a prior commitment outside of New Jersey on that day. So I know we had our call that day, and I was going to. Oh, sorry, you there?
Yeah.
Sorry. So I was gonna do that like on the road, but I'm trying to see if I can get there. I would love to.
Okay, cool. So yeah, anybody on the call, we have a sales conference in New Jersey at the Wilshire Grand. It's going to be Monday, July 19th. I am going to be there. Hopefully we will get Joanne there. We really appreciate you. Anything that we can do for you, please reach out, and just thank you again. I know it was a little bit of short notice, so thank you.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. You're the best. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Good interview. For sure. That's a lesson on how to move fast and not question anything.
Yeah. Don't think, just do.
Why don't we hit the phones? We had a slow weekend. Let's get some activity. Let's load it up. Rather than doing Q&A, we can jump back on next call and do that. But let's hit the phones hard, make up for the missed production this weekend. We got goals. Steve, what's your goal for the month?
Oh, 750, baby.
And what about you?
Or die.
And what's your personal?
Oh, personal? I don't know.
We're going to
we'll
be
see.
190,000, baby.
Maybe 200. We'll see.
All right, guys, let's hit the